Aloha, everybody, and welcome to the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. It's me, Drew Manning, coming at you guys from Kona, Hawaii. This is where we live. It's going to be me today, just flying solo. Lynn will be back next week. But today we have an amazing episode with you for you guys with Katie, Mack, and Mateo from last night's episode of Fit to Fat to Fit on A&E. Today we get to dive in and get to know them a little bit more on a personal level, just like we've done the past 5 weeks with all the other trainers' clients from the show. We get to know Mack and her story and why she struggled so much and why she hated me. She'll talk about that. We dive into Mateo and his journey of, how serious his gout was, and why he thinks their dynamic was so unique with him being a chef and Katie not really even caring about food, and why that was such an interesting dynamic on the show. And we talk about how Mateo helped Mack kind of get out of her funk on her journey back to fit. We talk about their diet and exercise routine that they used on their journey to fit, and some of the things that Mateo has learned with maintaining this lifestyle, because he's a chef. I mean, let's face it, he is in the food industry. He has a love for food that is totally different and foreign than Mack and her approach to food. So we talk about their exercise routine and how where he's at today and how he's been maintaining this lifestyle, and some of the things that Mack regretted doing this journey, what shifted her mentality during this episode. We dive into all of this, you guys, so stick around. It's going to be a great episode. Before we dive into the episode, though, our show sponsor is dollarworkoutclub.com. Now, dollarworkoutclub.com, as you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, is a program created by me, Lynn, and Natalie Hodson, who's a mom of two who works in the fitness industry. We created this online program because we felt like the other options out there weren't as affordable and didn't deliver all the content that people need. So what it is, it's an online program where people can get access to at-home workouts that are between 10 to 20 minutes long. They can get access to healthy recipe videos and motivational videos. Those three things are like no other in this industry. Most people will have subscription programs to just online workouts that you can do, or sometimes they have online workouts with, recipes, but ours has all three. So you have the Dollar Workout Club workouts, the healthy recipes, and the motivational videos that are created by us for you guys, and all you pay is just $1 a week. So all this quality content for just $1, you guys, per week is why we feel Dollar Workout Club is so valuable and different than anything else that's out there. You get 5 new workout videos every single week, 5 new healthy recipe videos every single week, and 5 new motivational videos every single week. We very, very rarely repeat any of the content. You'll see that. And we think it's very, very valuable, high quality content for an affordable price. If you go to dollarworkoutclub.com, you can get all the details of how it works. There's no contracts, no hidden fees. All it is $1 a week, you guys. And we feel like it's definitely at least worth a try. So check it out, dollarworkoutclub.com. Our next sponsor, you guys, is Hylete. Hylete is a performance apparel company that I've been working with for years now. I've fallen in love with their brand of clothes because Hylete is a mix between a hybrid and an athlete. And so basically you can use their workout gear for all different types of sports. So from CrossFit to swimming to running to hiking to biking to sleeping in to Zumba, no matter what, you can use their performance apparel for anything, you guys. And it's the highest quality content. I mean, think Lululemon with a really great styling and a lot more affordable prices, to be honest with you. The shorts are my favorite piece of clothing, you guys. If you go to hylete.com/fit to fat to fit, you will get up to 50% off on their exclusive member pricing. So all my followers that go to that URL, hylete.com/fit to fat to fit, that's HYLETE.com, you can receive up to 50% off on their performance apparel. Go check out their USA shorts, which are some of my favorite. And I've been using them for years, and I love them. Very good quality apparel that lasts forever and has great styling, you guys. All right, those are our show sponsors, and let's go hang out with Mack and Mateo. All right, Mack and Mateo, thank you guys so much for joining me here on the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. How are you guys doing out there in New York?
Yo, so good.
Crushing it as always.
Killing it.
Now, Now, is it snowing out there in New York? Is it cold right now? What's the weather like?
Well, we had a conversation with the weatherman, and we told him that we were sick of this cold weather. So today it's a little better.
Okay, like 40 degrees? Is that better?
Yeah, probably what? Like 30s. It's not snowing. But I know you're coveting the sun over there. So
I know. I'm trying not to rub it in. It is sunny and 75 right now.
February, it's all good. We probably just got off of the coldest Valentine that I can remember.
Yeah, it was freezing.
And it was about minus whatever it was. And I think a lot of people were not able to make it out, at least not to see me at my place of business. But some of them, some people trooped out and they got some good food and they got some roses and they got some chocolate. But I think a lot of ladies out there are upset that their man chickened out and stayed home because it was a little too cold for them.
Oh, that's a bummer to hear. So great episode last night, you guys. Fantastic. You guys are a unique couple. And what I mean by that is, Mateo, you're a chef. You love food. I put 3 loves in there, by the way, because it has an emotion for you. Whereas Mack, your background with food is like, I don't eat to live. I live to eat. Yeah. So when you guys first met each other, would you guys find your duo, you guys set up a little bit interesting, unique? You're like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. Like, what was your guys' first thoughts when you met each other?
Well, I instantly loved Mateo. I mean, how a mother falls in love with a baby. I fell in love with Mateo the moment I saw him.
So you're the mother and he's the baby?
Yeah, duh.
Okay, gotcha.
Madonna and her child. That would be us.
Gotcha, okay.
Millennial version, Madonna and her child.
And it has to do with the fact that just Mateo has one of the best energies that could ever be given off. I mean, he just exudes this warmth that, what? Mateo, cover your ears. But he's just the kindest, warmest person, and he's super energetic, and he also, without even meaning to, was there for me. He wanted to show up for me. So it was even casting in the very beginning, they said to me, you have to do this project because you're going to meet the person that's going to change your life. And they had already picked Mateo out, was my understanding, and they were right. They were absolutely right.
That is so cool. And Mateo, what did you think of Mack?
Well, I want to say the same thing. I don't know about love at first sight because Michelle would be really mad. So I can't say that with her presence or her hearing it. But either way, I just thought instantly there was a magical connection, and it didn't really matter that she had a different food philosophy than I did. That didn't seem to get in the way. I mean, there were a couple of moments where I really don't get what she's thinking, and she probably thought the same thing with me, but honestly that was such a small part of our relationship. That didn't really matter, because basically I wanted to get to know her, she wanted to get to know me, we wanted to help each other, and we were on board since day one, and that was the most important thing. So so I really was impressed with whoever got us together. They probably have a side business of putting people together if that person wants to branch out.
I think that also because our instant care for each other, it wasn't even just instant likability, but instant care. I think also because of the circumstances of the show sort of pushes that, or the experiment pushes that. But it allowed the conversations on these two extremes, me not necessarily caring that much about food and him caring. Instead of us butting heads, I was willing to listen to his point of view, and I think he was willing to consider mine. Yep. So instead of it just being you don't know what you're talking about, it's I care about you, so I kind of want to listen to why you feel that way. Does that make sense? So I think that actually helps a lot. Yeah,
it came from a place of extremes where Katie was extreme one way and I was extreme another way. And both of them were not really working out for either one of us. And so we both decided, hey, maybe this person's got a little something that will help us be less extreme. And on that premise, without even saying what we're saying now, but without saying that stuff,
spot on.
That's sort of how we developed a relationship day in and day out.
Yeah, that is so cool. Now, Mateo, have you ever worked with a personal trainer before?
Not on a regular basis. I was actually in the health club business in my teenage years.
He's had about 6 professions, just to throw that out there.
I didn't know that.
But my first job was at a health club, ironically, and I worked a couple of sessions with people there, but nothing in this level and this kind of intensity. No.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, what was your perception on with personal trainers in general? Like, what did you think of personal trainers before you met Mack and working with her? And you can be totally honest, judgmental if you want to. Like, what did you think of personal trainers?
I didn't really think about it. I was always a self-motivated person, and I've been doing martial arts for over 20 years, almost 25 years, and I always wanted to get myself to do things. And I thought that a personal training was like a luxury, actually.
Okay.
A person with a lot of money can get a personal trainer. People who look really fit, they must have personal trainers. So that might have been a little bit of what my idea was. But having been in the health club business when I was younger, I knew that there were a lot of competent people, a lot of passionate people, a lot of people who cared. I would say that Katie is, that Mack is more than normal in that her level of care goes above and beyond. And that doesn't mean that there aren't people who do that as well. But that's not something that I thought of when I thought of a personal trainer, that someone would be that into every aspect of my life in terms of helping me, and certainly she did that for me.
So you didn't have any preconceived notions about trainers going into this, like, she won't be able to understand.
I didn't have any negative preconceived notions. I just thought that, people in Hollywood had personal trainers and people who could afford trainers, and that was pretty much it. But in terms of personally, I thought, I was a person who always did things myself. If I wanted to do something, I needed to motivate myself. I didn't want somebody to help me. But now with so much information out there, and nutrition and types of exercise and physical therapy and all this sort of stuff, obviously people who are very talented like Mack, who have a lot of certification, a lot of experience with people, this is a really important thing. It's a really big deal.
Yeah. Now, Mack, have you worked with someone like Mateo, a chef that, has this love for food like he did?
Well, I've never worked with a chef, so I thought I was actually really excited about it. And actually, when I found that out, I was really excited, because one of the things I run into, especially in New York City, is the Grubhub syndrome, where people refuse, in this really indignant way, refuse to take ownership of their food, or to to buy it, to chop it up, to cook it, and then to plate it. I mean, all that, those 4 steps are you try to suggest to somebody who has a busy lifestyle here, and they will go into a coma. And so to meet somebody who not only takes ownership of food, but has more knowledge about food than anyone I've ever met, and a love of food in that way, we just sort of spun it just a little bit. I didn't have to do a 360. We did a quarter turn, and we sort of changed the relationship that he had to food a little bit. But I have worked with I have worked with other clients that are Mateo size before.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just curious about that, because, you guys are an interesting dynamic, and I thought it was so cool they paired you guys together, and you guys, at the end of the day, I think were perfect for each other, because you both changed each other's lives for the better. Now, Katie, getting into your Fit to Fat experiment, to say you struggled would be an understatement. I mean, I know how hard it was for you, because here's the thing, is a lot of people hearing this don't know that we Skyped once a month and we talked throughout the process, right. And a lot of that didn't show on the episode. At what point, and you can be totally honest here, at what point did you hate me the most, and why do you think it was so hard for you? Why do you think this was so hard for you? After
about 6 weeks, there's a gigantic poster board of your face, and your eyes are scratched out, and there's a bunch of colored you in. There's little pieces of paper ripped off. I got to the point where the thing that was so hard for me was the fact that anything that's so extreme has to do with, 1, a lifestyle change. There was that. Mm-hmm. But 2, I, went from, eating anywhere between 14 to 2,000 calories, depending on kind of what activity I was doing a day, to trying to eat 4,000 calories to 5,000 calories a day. And my system just was not, I'm in a really strong habit of not getting too full, always. I do not like getting too full. It's very uncomfortable to me. And I felt like every single day was Thanksgiving competition. I'm sitting with my family trying to see who can eat the last piece of pie. But that was almost every meal and every day. Yeah. And I had created a lifestyle where I move a lot. And imagine trying to, after your Thanksgiving meal and like fighting other people for the last piece, even when you didn't eat it, and then trying to go, demonstrate to people how to do exercises. That's the last thing you want to do. The only thing you want to do is just to lay down, to give yourself some relief. Yeah. And I'm used to being uncomfortable. That's like part of my practice, I think, as a trainer, putting my body in an uncomfortable situation. So that is familiar, but it was just, there was no reprieve. That was the hardest thing for me. I never didn't feel full.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like, to equate that to like training, imagine if you never had a moment where you weren't so sore that you were like walking, like a stick figure, like it would be super, super hard to train. And it was. And that's not to say that one couldn't. And it's not to say that I, didn't keep trying and probably, could have tried harder. But I got to the point where I started to get, after 6 weeks, I started to get sick, like so sick that I couldn't sit on the train without my head between my legs. I started to throw up when I was eating. I had to go to the ER twice to get anti-nausea medication put into my veins. I couldn't train anymore. And I felt like I was drunk all the time, which thought would be awesome, but I wasn't feel drunk. I was too drunk. And then I couldn't watch TV. Because everything was spinning all the time. And then I started to get, and then the cap of that is because I hated that feeling so much, I started to become afraid of eating. That was the end of the project. The last month, every time I had to eat, you would think I was about to go deadlift 350 pounds because I was amping up to eat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And here's
it goes against the framework of the show. But when I had heard a little bit about what Mack's struggles were from B, I said, well, she's going about it the wrong way. A, she's eating the wrong foods, and B, she's not enjoying herself, and it's becoming like a chore. And I think a lot of what we've seen in the previous episodes is some of the trainers were like, yeah, I can do this. I've done this before. I'm down with eating this.
I'm so jealous of
Give me 6 burgers, whatever. And you could see that their relationship to food was a little bit different than Mack's was. And I thought that it would be helpful if I could just take her out on a night and slowly introduce her to 10,000 calories, if that's such a thing. My way, which is, to roll, really know how to roll, go out and go to 6 bars and go to 6 restaurants.
He does it right.
And that's how I roll. And you don't feel like you're having 10,000 calories, but at the end of the day, it comes out to being 10,000 calories. So I just felt like, because she didn't know how to do that, that was not as productive for her
I
either.
needed a personal trainer to teach me how to eat.
Yes, you guys. Yeah, that is such a good idea. That is really cool. I think that would make for a great episode if Mateo got to train Mack. But that would be so cool.
Everybody had to fall in love with it.
I should take all the trainers out on one night.
Oh, he's glowing right now.
We'll start off at 6 p.m. We'll find a happy hour at 4.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
So excited.
And I'd get him home at 4 a.m. would be the shut off. At 4, they have to hang with me until 4 a.m.
It's really hard.
And just bring them on, and let's do a little extra podcast on that. That'd be good.
Introduce them to your world.
Oh yeah,
I see what you're saying, man. That is actually a great idea, and I totally see that. Because here's the thing: that people need to understand is, some people are like, oh, overweight people don't eat this way. This is ridiculous. These trainers, don't, that's not how I eat, and that's true, right? That is a reality TV show. There is pressure from the producers. You remember, Mack, there was pressure for you to, hey, you got to finish this, you got to eat this, you got to gain weight.
I was livid.
Yes, I know. I remember how mad you were, and I totally get it, because my experience was different. I didn't have producers watching it. I had 6 months to gain weight, and I did push myself once a week doing a food challenge, but I can imagine if I had to do that food challenge every meal of every day for 4 months, I could see how sick of it you would get. So we're trying to...
I do think there's a big difference between 4 months and 6 months. I would be curious to see, not necessarily that I would want the whole thing to last longer, but I think I would have maybe figured it out a little bit on my own. Because I wanted to like the foods. It's not like I wasn't like, oh man, I'm better than Pringles. I was like, oh cool, I get to eat Pringles. But I can only eat a quarter of a can of Pringles normally. you know? So I can't, but I would force myself to eat a whole can, you know, and instead of eating one piece of pizza, I would have 3 pieces of pizza, or I would try, you know?
Yeah.
And so because it was so extreme. So, I mean, I appreciate you saying that your experience was different and that you were able to enjoy it a little bit. And I know that obviously you had a hard time too. I mean, I know you had a really hard time, but there's something about the time limit of it. And then also, like you said, the pressure that weighed on me.
And it is reality TV, because that's the thing is like, okay, if you only gained 15 pounds in 4 months and you had a good time with it, there's the people that would say, well, it's not even noticeable, 15 pounds, you know, I could poop that out, you know what I'm saying? Like people say that, so there's always going to be complainers both ways is what I'm saying, and there's no perfect formula, 4 months, 6 months, you know, force feed yourself, like there's no perfect way of doing it. The idea, and that's not what the show is all about. It's just to get you to see things from a different perspective, and hopefully at the end of the day come out of it a better trainer, a better understanding, more empathy, more respect for what your client goes through. I mean, that's not what Mateo lives like. If Mateo lived that way, shoot, who wouldn't change their lifestyle if you felt miserable all the time eating those foods? So I just wanted to let people know that.
Yeah,
now,
for the record, I never felt miserable eating any of my food.
It doesn't sound like it, especially
you know, if it's not good enough to eat, I won't eat it. So junk doesn't really enter. I mean, that's not true. I mean, I have put junk in my body. There's certainly things that I shouldn't eat that I do, but for the most part, it's the pursuit of everything delicious, and it's got to be great, and that's why I travel, and that's why I cook, and that's why I go out as much as I do.
Yeah, I know. So that's awesome. Okay, so really quick, Mack, let's talk about the emotional part, because, you know, hopefully you're okay with talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff. But I remember at one point you saying you don't even know if you want to be a trainer anymore. You don't even know if you want to do this. Like, you obviously did not like the experiment because of how hellish it was for you. Talk to us about the emotional part that you went through and how you were able to overcome that at the end, or what your perception was of the whole thing now that it's over.
So I'm the type of person that needs a little. So I think a lot of us are emotionally attached to our food. I think that's not like people might find that surprising, but you start to talk to people about their food and they get really, you know, precious about it.
Yes.
And I was precious about the types of foods that I ate. I knew they made me feel good and I liked them. So that part of control in my life was taken away. Then the other thing I could control, because there's only so many things you can control in a day, right? I can't control the subway system. I can't control, you know, the little kid who runs into me and spills something on me. I can't, you know, there's so many things I can't control. But the things I can, like my food and the amount of time I spend working out, those things were taken away from me. Yeah. And I had this like weird hope that during the time that was spent focusing on food or focusing on diet or on exercise, I would fill with some other passion. And I was too tired to find another, basically, self-esteem thing to replace that. So I tried to, I'm artsy fartsy, so I tried to, do more writing. I tried to, work on, some of my like acting stuff. I tried to read more. I tried to just watch all like The Godfathers, some of the classics. Like I tried to get myself to do things where I would be able to have some self-esteem, and I wasn't able to do any of that. I felt awful the whole time, and so that continued to feed back into myself and my self-esteem and what I thought about myself. And this is completely separate entity. So I thought I would be a lot more vain in this project, and I did not care how I looked because I felt so bad. And it got to the point where my training was starting to suffer. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't necessarily called out for it in the very beginning, but I lost clients during this journey, people I really care about. And rightfully so, I deserved that. So I wasn't doing a good job at the one thing that I was really proud of. And I had no other, pieces of the table to keep me up. So I went home every day much earlier than I ever would have. So I went from a solid, 10 to 12 hour day of working to, really the bare minimum, 5 sessions a day. And then I would go home and I would sleep and I'd wake up and I'd eat and I'd set alarms and I'd eat. So my quality of life diminished so quickly to the point where I wasn't sure what I was able to do anymore. I doubted myself. I doubted my abilities. I couldn't stay awake. So I couldn't find a way to feel good about myself. And I got to the point where I was feeling incredibly suicidal. And I don't actually say that lightly. I was kind of I was like, well, what's the point of anything?
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who has struggled in the past with, self-esteem, mental health issues, body image issues, just like everybody else. Y'all don't play. Y'all are crazy too, okay? But this brought out every single aspect to this, like it just brought it to the surface.
Yeah.
To the point where I felt like I had nothing. It was crazy. I was losing money. I felt I remember one day I was so uncomfortable and I don't know why. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't take a shower. And I found one cool portion of my apartment, which is a hardwood floor. And it was the only, and if I got in like this like weird fetal position with my legs underneath the pillow, it was the only time my body didn't hurt. It was like the weirdest. Oh man, It was like I couldn't explain the amount of pain, and and again, the thing that was so frustrating for me is I thought I was going through this experience so I could feel how Mateo felt, and I knew that Mateo definitely didn't feel this way, and that none of my clients had ever felt this type of uncomfortable, this like weird constant pain, and if they had, I would hope they would have shared that with me. So yeah, I mean, things got dark.
Yeah.
Okay, lights out. I was ready to quit. I
remember.
thought about quitting, and the only light at the end of the tunnel was Mateo. That was it. Mateo was the reason and my only reason for continuing to do this.
That's what I remember. I remember talking to you about that, and I knew that this was turning south really quick because your experience was a lot different than mine and other trainers' experiences. There was a couple other trainers on the show that got to a dark place as well, but yours I could tell. I was like, okay, something's going wrong here. Like this is affecting her, her emotional stability, and she does seem like very depressed. I'm like, this is too much. And so obviously we didn't, foresee that happening, and I don't think that anyone intended it to be that way for you.
No.
And so, but like, how did you? Okay, so once you started training and eating healthy again, at what point did you be like, you know what, I know what my purpose is again, and I feel better? Like, at what point during the journey did that happen for you?
Well, I would say that it took a solid month for me not to still be afraid of food. I was still very, very, very afraid of food.
No, I thought she was afraid of food almost until the end.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I think you're probably right. I tried to mask a little bit from Mateo, but he sees through me.
I knew that.
Mateo, were you able to help her, do you think, on help her with a relationship with food on the journey back to fit? And if so, how?
I don't think so exactly. I don't think exactly was able to help her with that portion of it. I think
him being a person.
I think emotionally, I mean, obviously, look, she was physically ill, right? And she was physically ill for a long time.
How embarrassing is this? I got sick from eating too much food. Like, I mean, I can't even. I'm so embarrassed that was my experience.
But she didn't train for it. Like, I've been training my whole life eating. So she tried to train her whole life. When people say you lose, how much weight are you going to lose in 4 months? I'm like, look, It took me 46 years to put on this weight.
Yeah.
I should give myself a little bit of time to take it off. For me to try to take it off in 4 months is not respecting what I've done for 46 years. No disrespect to respecting my 46 years. What I'm saying about Mack is that she was so physically ill, and it was so traumatizing to be that physically ill and not in control of many aspects of your life.
It sounds so silly, but I was so sick. I mean, it just feels so silly to talk about.
No, but it's even.
I know.
But if you think about it, even from the dichotomy, the different poles, the North Pole and the South Pole to this is very funny. Ironically funny, in that when a person's trying to gain a lot of weight, or when a person's trying to lose a lot of weight, when a person's trying under extreme pressures for goals, or under the scrutiny of a camera, all these sort of things that occur, it's really the same thing.
It really is. We came to so many parallels.
One could say it's so harder than the other. It's not really. It's a lot of parallels. And what I'm saying again is because she didn't train to eat this way, and she had to eat so quickly, that was really a shock to her system. But what I'm saying is that for me, to concentrate on, like, why don't you like food? We should eat food, would have just been more poison pill. I mean, she was already had a bad relationship with food. It was already like a damaged relationship. And before that, she had a relationship where she didn't really, she enjoyed what she enjoyed, but it was only a certain amount of what she wanted to enjoy. And then to have this 4-month process go on, and then really be like, food is the enemy, So for me, it wasn't about food therapy. We got to that at the end, like how you can enjoy things in a different way. But I think that's when she taught me that I can have one cocktail as opposed to 15 and still enjoy the one cocktail and be satisfied with that. That was like another parallel where it's like, well, you can also enjoy 9-course meal by having 9 very small bites, as opposed to saying I'm not going to have any of this at all. So so we met in the middle that way, and that was really interesting because again, it's a parallel, but it worked for us on both sides. But I would just say emotionally, look, I had a person with me. We were on a journey. She was trying to help me, and I felt like I was trying to help her. And how do you help people? Just by caring and actually showing that you care, and by being around when a person needs you. And, when I had a lot of moments that I needed a lot of help, I would text her. And when she had a lot of moments, she would text me. And a lot of times when we met and trained, it was really, as much as she tried to get me to train, I was like, no, I think we have a lot of things to talk about and to repair emotionally. If you want to continue to train, you actually have to address these things first. And a lot of our sessions ended up that way, which without rhyme or reason, but it's like, I know you can't go on like this, and I knew she couldn't go on like that. So we ended up hashing a lot of stuff out, and we weren't trying to solve each other's problems. We were just trying to be there for one another, which I think we did a good job.
Agreed.
Now, Mateo, looking back, since Mack's experience wasn't what it was intended to be, or didn't go as perfectly, because some of the trainers had a good time with it. They're like, oh, this is easy, like Adonis, from the Bronx, and who used to be overweight. He's like, oh man, I'm loving this. This is actually fun. Like, I've been here before. I know what I'm doing.
Enjoy it. So jealous.
I know. So he had a great experience, but at the same time, it was more so of what the show's intended to do. So since Mack's experience was different, when she told you she was going to gain the weight and then lose it with you, what were your thoughts at that moment? And then now that the show's done, did you see value for you as a client in her doing this to her body and her mind, if opposed to if she had never been overweight before and was just another trainer that who had always been in shape? What value was there in this for you as a client, if any?
Initially, there wasn't really much value.
Okay.
Meaning that, how fat was she going to get?
Yeah.
I was
even then, even Mateo looked at me in the very beginning, and I didn't end up reaching what my ultimate weight goal was. And he looked at me and he was kind of like, yeah, okay, you'd still look like a normal person, so I don't care.
Yeah. Michelle and I are like, yeah, but she's like, Mateo, she doesn't look fat. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. But then when I got to know her and got to know what she could do and what she couldn't do, things started to reveal itself to me more that she really made a sacrifice and she did a big deal. So what I want to say is, in the beginning I was just like, yeah, whatever, she got okay, she put on a couple of pounds, big deal. Hang out with me for 2 months, you'll gain 10 pounds without trying. So I wasn't that impressed with that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
No, he didn't even notice I gained weight.
I really did not notice.
It's supposed to be a big reveal.
Because she was so funny. She was like, look, I got boobs now. I was like, let me tell you something. Michelle has boobs.
Is one of the most. She's like a quintessential perfect woman. She's smoking, but she has a rack like I've never seen.
I sleep very well. Don't tell me. Well, Michelle doesn't sleep very well.
Poor Michelle. We're talking about her rack on the podcast. Hopefully she doesn't mind.
She's gonna hate me, but that's okay. Yeah. She hates me for other reasons. No, and so I got off topic, which I was. No. Then towards the end, we both sort of hit a wall in terms of what we wanted, our goals, and we had to talk our way through that. And had she not had to try to lose the weight under the same time restraint that I had, we had a different bond as well. Not
That's
that we needed
a really good point.
Not that we needed more bonds, but I found myself one day. I remember this really because Mack was rarely ever snippy with me at all. But she got snippy with me twice. I remember both times.
Oh, no.
Okay.
The first time was because I told her that she looked good or something, and she was just like, don't tell me that. Oh, no, you look thin. I said something like, you look thin, or whatever it was. And she was like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. Whatever. Because in her mind, if she wasn't her 23-pound body of what she used to be beautiful, then it's not possible for her to look thin or to look good. So she got snippy with me, and then I was like, I'll never say how she looks that way again. I remember that.
I do remember that.
And the second time she got really snippy with me, I lost my train of thought.
Was it my body weight?
Oh, no. And when I gave her a tip on how to lose weight.
Remember that?
She was like, I'm the trainer. Like, you don't have to tell me.
Oh my God.
Because she was stuck for, like again, I'm a male, I'm a female. She was stuck for a month where it was like, she would run a half marathon, cut down its 800 calories, and not gain a pound, and then gain a pound.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her like, this scale is evil. This scale is rigged. I can't believe she hasn't smashed it yet. She's doing triple the effort that I am, and I'm getting on a scale and I'm losing 8 pounds. Yeah. And she's losing a pound, gaining a pound after like totally doing all this sort of stuff. So I was just like, wow, she's trying everything humanly possible within her repertoire. So let me just give her some other advice. So I was just like, maybe you should eat. And she was like, don't give me any advice about what to do. Blah, blah, blah.
The thing is, he was right. I was hurting my metabolism, so I had really hurt my metabolism. But because of the pressure of everything, I was scared.
Yeah.
So you kind of freaked out.
Last month I went against a lot of things that I would do for other people, a lot of things I would do for myself.
Right.
I still tried to give him good advice.
Yeah.
But it's this weird, the 3 weeks of losing weight was awesome. We were awesome. And I was totally sane. And then the last month, I started to do things. I started to change up my program and do things.
Right. So Drew, what Mack is saying is the 3 months. For 3 months, I had other issues, but for 3 months, we really were like on a good program. I was modifying my behaviors, getting me to think differently about food, getting me to think differently about training. We were having our sessions. We were all having positive results. She got me to realize a number is just a number on a scale. Don't worry about the number. How do you feel? Want to feel fit? And we were on the same page and really got me over to thinking about it. I had my trust in her right away. It was not an issue of like fighting her on all those things. Like I was speaking like I was saying so many Mackisms, with like being activated and feeling fit and all these words that I would never use. And then at the end, when it was like, well, you've got a month left, you need to hit this number. And we were getting a lot of from Helen. And then it became like a chore. And it also became unreasonable because our bodies both went into like symbiotic stall mode. It's like,
it was like
all the women who work in the office at the same time have the same menstruation period. It's like the same thing happened to us.
We synced up.
We had the same period where like my body was like, no, I don't care what you do. You are not going to make the goal. You're not going to make.
Let's pay attention to that. That's stress. I mean, then
that
your
stress
body
really just freaked us out.
Yeah.
And then it took like 3 weeks, like a week left, and I broke the ice by saying, we're just going to come over to my place, and I'm going to make a couple of cocktails.
Oh my God, that was
and
the
we're
best
going to
day.
be flying high because we are not used to drinking that much. And
we had like 2 drinks.
And I'm not going to care. I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I'm not going to blow it, but I'm going to be like a normal person. I'm just going to like live, eat, drink the way I normally like to do. And Mack's going to do the same thing. And both of us hit the scale, and the result was like that was much better.
Once we were able to we took back ownership because we lost ownership with this pressure of this time limit, and it became somebody else's agenda that we cared about versus our own. And so it was like strange. It was one of the more stressful things. And I've gone through a lot of periods in my life of wanting to change my body and how it looks and what it's able to do. And I've never felt, and I've always been able to hit my goals because I stay the course. And I wasn't able to stay the course because I felt this like weird pressure. It was like this weird thing. I think and
it was not fun.
It was not fun.
We had fun working out. I had fun changing my diet. I had fun with the blend tech, making. I don't know if you saw.
We're fun people.
I don't know if you saw any of my posts. My diary cam stuff, but I had a lot of fun with all the stuff that I was doing.
Yeah.
But that last month was not fun. It really was not fun. We suffered a lot, and that's not what it's about.
Sure.
And that's not what. And that's also it's a little hard for me to watch Mateo go through that because that's not my belief of weight loss, and it was hard for me to go through because. That's again, like I just don't. I never ask anybody to go through that.
Right.
Sure.
Max stuffing herself for 4 months, and the manner that she did not make her love food more. And that last month of extreme weight loss did not make me want to continue to lose weight. So when you get to the question, which you'll get to in a minute, how am I now? We'll get to that when you want to, but that's a perfect segue for how we ended up, which was jubilant on the scale. But emotionally and physically exhausted from the whole process.
For 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, we were just like so mad at everything and mad at the show and mad at whatever. and that took a lot of repairing period.
Yeah,
no, and I totally get that, and that's one thing, like kind of what I said before, like it's the realities of the reality TV show world. You know, you have a 4-month window. I mean, yeah, if we can make a 2-year show out of this and follow your moderate progress, I mean, yes, that's more realistic, but obviously, you know, hey, 4 months of gaining weight, 4 months of losing weight, we got to package this up, put it into a 45-minute episode, and deliver it something that's good that people love, and people love the show. But yeah, I mean, if we can make it a 2-hour episode or 3-hour episode to show more of the journey, that would be fantastic. But here's the thing, and this is what people need to realize: they compare themselves sometimes to what the results they see on TV, and they think, oh, well, I only lost 0.2 pounds, they lost like 12 pounds, I'm doing something wrong, like I'm a failure. And so that's one thing people need to realize watching the show is, like, you know, this doesn't reflect reality, even though it's a reality TV show. And you guys kind of make some good points in there. And Mack, your experience, I mean, as a trainer who's struggling to lose the weight, and you start freaking out, you're like, okay, I'm doubting myself. What am I doing wrong? I'm a trainer. I have the knowledge. Why isn't this working? It's great to go through that experience, because I went through that as well, and it just makes you so much more relatable to your clients versus like some of the trainers and a lot of people out there with good metabolisms who have only been overweight for a few months. You know, for them, it looks easy. It appears easy. Like, oh, they know how to do it. Of course it's easy for them. But to see you struggle as a trainer just makes you more human, more relatable. And it's something that we all go through, whether you're a trainer or a client. And it's a valuable lesson, because now you can relate to Mateo, who has struggled, or people who are overweight who are like, you know what, I promise I'm following the meal plans. I'm doing the exercises you gave me. But I just, you know, for whatever reason, I'm not seeing the results on the scale. And like, you can be like, you know what, I understand where you're coming from, versus a normal trainer, and this was me before Fit to Have to Fit, would have been like, well, you're probably lying about something, or you're not pushing hard enough. Like, you know, there's something going on here. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes you more relatable.
No, I think that is a good point. I mean, that thing where, that call out where it might, like, that same thing, like, I give my clients homework, they send me their meal plan, stuff like that. I mean, this is slightly different than my experience with Mateo, but like, it just kind of in real life, especially when people have like, you know, event goals like weddings or reunions and stuff like that. And they're in that last 2 weeks where they're, you know, my first thought is, you're probably lying about something, you're probably lying about something. And that's just not my thought anymore.
I know.
Let me look at the program again. Let's brainstorm some things, and let's make one tiny adjustment, but then let's stay the course, you know?
Yeah. That is great. Okay, so let's shift gears here a little bit, you guys, because so many people want to know, okay, what was the nutrition program you and Mateo followed, and then what was the exercise routines or programs that you guys followed during the journey back to fit? Because people want to know the specifics, and of course in the episode, they just don't show all that, right? There's not enough time. But like, talk about the specifics, if that's okay, about those two things.
So for me, when I was allowed to stop the project, I went for a walk.
Okay.
It was the best walk I've ever been on. I actually left the city and went to Beacon, New York, and just walked. And then I rented a bike and I biked. And it was the most glorious thing ever to move my body in that way. Mm-hmm. And I didn't, I sort of set a time limit where I was like, I'm going to walk a minimum of an hour.
Okay.
And so that was like how everything began. I didn't lift weights, I think, until 2 weeks after, because I had to start to fall in love. I just had to start feeling better and start to fall in love with moving again. And I liked it immediately, but I didn't want to do anything too extreme. So that was like my in. Uh-huh. And then for me, some sensory things came back, like being in the gym is my happy place. I love the gym. I love the jerks in the gym. I love the old people in the gym. I love gyms. I just think they're great. Like, there's just an interesting microcosm. And then I went to basic compound movements, different types of squats, different types of deadlifts, pull downs, some sort of and then a handful of stable machines. And I came up with a really basic program where the first thing for the first 2 weeks was weights that I knew I could do, sets of 10 to 12 on that weren't too extreme. I'd go through like a 5 compound exercise series, and then I would repeat it 3 times. And then the next week I'd repeat it 4 times. And then the next week 5 times. So that would it's just a really simple progression. And then things started to change, adding weight, adding more exercises. And then sort of the things I did in between were corrective stuff for myself, fixing stuff with my hip, fixing stuff with my shoulder, making sure that I was injury free, because I feel like that is the number one thing that gets people off track. You know, their shoulder starts to tweak, their knee starts to tweak, and then they're done. So keeping my, range of motion intact, making sure that I was able to, keep my body feeling good. And I didn't push for the first month. I just focused on what I ate and keeping with a program, not an exercise program. Yeah.
So how many times were you working out a day during those 4 months?
Oh, I mean, but see, that's the difference. Let's call, I don't know what, so for me, it's hard for me to call, walking an hour and a half to 3 hours a day working out, but that would be in addition, to my hour to 2 hour gym time. So, and for me, I like to play the game, can I do this? And so like if there's a flight of subway stairs and there's an escalator, the question is, can I take the stairs? And the answer is 99.9% of the time, yes. Like, am I too tired or am I too sore or whatever? So I play that game constantly. Can I, it's like, I don't want to go grocery shopping. I should go grocery shopping. And at first it's like, I should go grocery shopping so I can get more steps in today, so I can get more movement. And then it becomes part of my habit. So I wanted to make that distinction because it wasn't necessarily just me in the gym. It was, I think things, especially for the first month, things were easier to lose weight because I just made myself do more things. Instead of going to the Starbucks that was 3 blocks away, I went to the Starbucks that was 10 blocks away.
Yeah.
And making that a conscious effort and just choosing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. And that's one thing I think people all are curious about is, okay, she's a trainer, of course she has the time to do all this. Like, how did she fit it in? What did she do? And that's what people want to know. Now, Mateo, though, for you're not a personal trainer full time. You kept your job. You didn't go to some boot camp somewhere for, 4 months and work out 6 times a day and have a nutritionist make your foods for you. How did you do this journey with your busy lifestyle? How did you fit it in? And if so, how? Like, how many times a day did you work out? For how long? What was your routine on the exercise on the journey back to fit?
I had some simple goals. Mack and I talked about it. First of all, I had a really hard time with basic movement just because my weight and some injuries that were lingering. And the weight caused a lot of stress on these injuries.
And changed his movement patterns a lot.
So, I was the opposite, How can I get on an escalator? Michelle laughs at me because when we were in Paris with the metro system, I was always looking for the metro system, where's the exit with the escalator so I don't have to go upstairs. So it was a game when it would be out of order, she would laugh the whole way because I'd have to climb the stairs in agony, but she would laugh. So I didn't know how to sit, stand, walk, go upstairs. Everything caused a lot of pain for me, which is part of the reason for signing up for this, signing up for some help because I really couldn't do it on my own. And then Mack focused on that stuff. Let's start with sitting. Let's start with standing. Let's start with using one leg, building one leg strength, another leg strength. And that was a goal, just to change my lifestyle so that I can say, I'm going to go walk 20 blocks just because.
Yeah.
Not just for a trainer's mindset, which is I'm going to walk to the 10th Starbucks, not this one, but the one a few blocks away. Now I can walk to this coffee shop because it's 30 blocks out of the way, not just because it's 30 blocks out of the way, but also because they make the best coffee. So I have 2 focus in walking to the best coffee shop. That was the first goal. The second goal is I wanted to continue to practice judo the way I used to when I was younger, and I was unable to practice any good judo. And to get into that kind of shape required a lot of effort. I knew that would be a long haul. So she wasn't really down with that, but I told her as soon as I can get on the mat, I would be practicing judo again, which I tried to do. So those were the goals. And that's
like the first month. And
that's what we worked towards, That's what I tried to do. And once I got to do that, I was able to fit it into my lifestyle. When you don't create the time to get healthy, then you just stay unhealthy. And since I made that a priority and she held me to it, I'm meeting you today. I don't care if you can't walk. You're going to come in and we're going to do something.
Because there's always something you can do.
Because you can always blow it off. And so I didn't blow it off, partly because I didn't want to let her down and partly because I didn't want to let myself down because I said, we're going to do this, so let's do it. So I committed to that, and that was helpful. So I was able to work. It was a lot of stress, with work and with family issues. And the interesting thing is, my body broke down, through this whole process. I have really, I've had the ACL repairs. I was 315 pounds. When you just make somebody who's that heavy, who hasn't worked out, go from 0 to 60, you're going to have breakdown problems. And, Mack was very careful with me, and I don't think she was making me do things that put me in any kind of peril or whatever. But once one thing went bad, another thing went bad, another thing went bad, and like the whole right leg just gave out. And there were just days that I was having a lot of trouble working out or even getting out of bed. And then, of course, I had gout issues, and gout is an overproduction of uric acid, inability to get rid of it, and it causes painful swelling in the joints.
And now imagine this. Mateo gave up every single thing, every single food that he loves that produces or that has uric acid in it. He gave it up, and then he has a gout attack. An attack that's crazy. So, talk about staying the course under, like, the most unfair circumstances. He did everything right? And we talk about, like, he must have done something wrong. He did everything right.
I couldn't even look at a package of bacon. It was just crazy. and all these foods were all upset with me. They didn't get the memo that there was a divorce. They wanted to know why I fell out of love with them, why I didn't court them anymore, why I didn't talk, why we didn't dance, I didn't write, nothing. They were all mad at me, all my pets. And the truth is, I got a massive gout attack. It was like one of the worst ever. I was crying in bed, and I knew that I couldn't get up to get out of bed and like do a one-legged, hop to the gym. So literally a good 35% of the time, I was just like in pain. Nothing was working. I was down. And
No, I was just gonna say that there's some parallels to both of your journeys. Whereas Mack, on her journey, gaining the weight was in so much pain from something different, but still very similar. But that she didn't give up. She didn't, she kept pushing through to try and gain as much weight as possible, right, for this experiment. Here you are with these painful gout attacks, but you didn't give up. You could have been like, I just can't. Like, I can't, hop my way to the gym. So it would be so easy just to quit right now, but you found a way to do it, and you ended up losing, 70 pounds in 4 months, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people with will, who are very heavy, obese people, you look at them, I look at them now, not that I'm I'm a svelte, whatever, but I look at them now and I'm like, wow, how hard is it for this person to go up these stairs right now?
Yeah, you can relate to that, right?
And but you know what? And they do it. They figure out a way. They get their body to work somehow. They use whatever mechanisms.
They'll figure it out.
And they do it. And they do it. And they suffer. And it's just a quiet suffering. And I know that I was that person too. So I know what it's like. And you just do it because you have to. I have to get to the hospital to help my brother. So it doesn't matter how badly I feel today, how hard it is to get up the stairs, how hard it is to breathe. This is my goal, and this is what I've got to do. And that's never changed, and that's really an interesting part. So I think a lot of people were like, this person's obese, they can make choices, they can do this. Yeah, there's a lot of things that they can do, but also give them credit for being strong and that they're still going on with their lives doing what they're doing. Now, if they're just sitting around doing nothing, that's a different thing. But a lot of people who are obese and who really have a lot of trouble and don't have a way out or don't have a way, to figure out how to change their lives, they still go on doing what they're doing, and that's really impressive.
Really impressive.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
As I told her when she tried to make me plank for the first time, I said, do you know how hard it is for someone my size to do this? Like, it's really not easy to hold up all this weight in this ridiculous position.
And then he did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Then she told me, of course, it wouldn't be, if it's called working out, it's supposed to be hard. I'll never forget that.
That's
True.
funny.
Working out, it's supposed to be hard.
So lastly, what I would say is, after the whole experience, I was really exhausted, and I don't believe in obstacles. So we had Thanksgiving coming up, and I had a trip to Argentina, and I had Christmas and New Year's. So I knew I had a lot of partying and celebrating and doing whatever, and I had to be very careful not to slide. And so I kept up some workouts in November, and I was going to the dojo as well. But ultimately, I knew December would take off and that I would start again in January, not as a New Year's resolution thing, but just that the timing of it was in January.
Holidays are hard.
In January, I had no plans. And I just needed a break from all this stuff. So I kind of took a break. I think I put 15 pounds back on during that 2.5 month span. Mm-hmm. And then once I said I'm going to pick a gym that I like and join the gym, that's what I've done. And I've taken off a good 7 or 8 from that I initially gained. and I'm doing things like a normal person and going to the gym and enjoying it and doing different classes that I wouldn't do normally. For example, for my birthday, which is on February 1st, I took a spin class, a yoga class, a Feldenkrais class, and then I had a massage. And that's how I started my day. And that's like the first birthday I've ever started in such a healthy fashion. But and I had 2 soft-boiled eggs and a banana and a piece of bacon, 2 pieces of bacon, of course, and my coffee, which is my breakfast of champions. And it's just not something that I would have done in the past in the last 10 years. But that's part of my life now, and I know it. And now I feel good. I feel fit. I have other goals that I want to get to in terms of fitness. But I can do that at a really normal life pace that fits it with my lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's what people want to know. Yeah, and that's what people want to know is the details of like, okay, during the 4 months, of course, you're in kind of like, turbo mode, trying to get as much weight off as quickly as possible. And I think people, get that and they think, well, that's not realistic. And, I don't know if it is. I mean, for some people, they can make it work. It's just a matter of it being a priority. But now that the cameras are gone and here you are, you're still a chef, you still have to live life. There's still holiday parties you have to go to and be, quote unquote normal, like you're saying. Is people want to know, okay, so how do you exercise now versus when you were during the 4 months? And how do you eat now versus then? How do you maintain this lifestyle? Because some people don't know. They know how to do these crash course diets, but then they're like, okay, well, how do I live like a normal person again and find that balance? Yeah,
well, I mean, listen, every person is different. And so
yes.
And that's so important.
No matter what.
Like every single person is different. So you try to follow Kim Kardashian diet, you're not Kim Kardashian.
Right. You don't have a body.
You try to do the Jillian Michaels diet, you're not Jillian Michaels.
You don't have her body.
You have to figure it out on your own.
You don't have her body, you don't have her genes, you don't have her money, you don't have her trainer, you don't have her stress levels. There's so many factors, it's crazy. And so when Mack was tweaking how I looked at my diet and what I was doing with my food intake and my plans, I'll give you a perfect example. I plan basically 90% of Michelle's meals. And I get up and I make her breakfast and I pack her a lunch and I usually shop for her dinners and we go out, of course, together. But I make sure she eats as healthy as possible because she wants to. Mm-hmm. And then she one day was just like, well, why don't you do that for yourself? And I was just like...
His mind was blown.
I was like, oh
my gosh.
He actually was speechless for the first time.
I was like...
in his life.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So, what works for me will not work for everyone, but there are some things to be taken from it. Number one was, if you have a bad meal or a bad day, it doesn't have to become a bender.
Yes.
So easy to do, right?
So if I have a 4,000 calorie meal, then you know what? My nutrition needs to be spot on for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So that's one technique. The second technique is what's the balance of the nutrition? If you're putting in if you're just going to have, a big pasta meal and there are no fats involved and there's no this involved, there's no that involved, your body doesn't process the foods that way. It doesn't take it out that way. So that was important. And then ultimately, listen, your diet has to be sustainable. You have to enjoy it and it has to be good for you. So the other thing is, so it's like, don't go on a bender. Don't, have good nutrition. And I still have conversations with myself with everything that I eat and I pick out to do. Do I need this? What can I substitute this with? Do I really want this? And I end up winning that battle more often than not. And it's a battle that will continue for the rest of my life, where I sit there and say, I'm having this coffee now. Do I want this croissant as well? Well, did I deserve it? Do I earn it? Is it a treat? There are other ways to treat myself.
Versus just mindlessly getting it.
Yeah,
right?
just like I have to get it because if I'm getting this burger, do I need the fries? I don't need the fries. I might want the fries, but I don't need the fries. So Max trained me a lot bit with language and a lot of bit like the word need. You don't need stuff. You want stuff. And we don't have everything that we want. These are all tools. Like I have a big toolbox with all these things that I have for myself and developed for myself, and also that Max helped me develop and also suggested to me. And all those things become a plan that every day you just try to follow it the best that you can. And not every day is a victory and not every day is a defeat. And you just try to have more victories than defeats. And ultimately, if it's not sustainable to you, it'll never be sustainable.
That's the thing about Mateo's take on this and his constant conversation with it versus somebody who, if I had said to Mateo, great, we're going to start weighing all your food, he would have thrown me out the door so fast. Or like, we're going to start to look at, we did look at how many calories, but just kind of only vaguely.
Just to understand that.
We talked about satiety. And then like, he's a smart boy. He knows what's good for him and what's not good for him. And this is general stuff. If Mateo wants to become a bikini model, then we're going to have to start talking about like macros and calories and, that kind of stuff and other supplements. But he's a real person. So we don't need to sit here and weigh stuff and, percentages of macros, and he can like be like, oh, this is a handful. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's sustainable to him. This guy's too busy for any of that stuff. Whereas,
which is good. Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I kind of like that control over my food, but I would never ask Mateo to do that, especially at this point. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does, because some people, for them, counting calories, counting macros is what they need at that point in time in their lives. Once they get to the point where they understand, okay, that's about 20 grams of protein right there, that's about 6 ounces of this. Like, they can calculate things in their head, right? But I mean, for some people, they don't. Different things work for different people. I totally see what you guys are saying, and it makes perfect sense. So, if you could, like, Mack, what type of diet or what kind of restrictions of foods he couldn't eat and could eat, did you follow some guidelines? Would you say it's more paleo, more vegan, more Atkins, more keto, or what was it like?
Yeah, no. That's a great question. It's just for me. This is what I've experimented with. So
sure.
I went through processes throughout my life where I would try something for about 6 weeks or 4 weeks. 4 weeks was my minimum, and I would stick to that and see how I felt. So. And so there are certain things that just don't work in my body. Like, it feels silly, but soy makes my joints hurt. I mean, it just does. I don't eat soy. Not because I don't think you should not eat soy. I don't eat soy because I don't like the way it makes me feel. Mm-hmm. I don't eat almost any dairy because it just, I just don't, my tummy don't like it. Okay, you don't want me to eat dairy. Trust me. For
Same
me,
here.
I've discovered that I function really, really well on a almost 50% fat diet. And then it's anywhere between 40 and 50% high fat, and then about 30 to 35% protein, and then 20% carbohydrates. And my carbohydrates mostly come from vegetables and fruits, and I almost eat no packaged things. I every once in a while I don't do protein bars. I do protein drinks every once in a while. I don't do supplements, and I like the way it feels, and I don't like because I like to eat my food. I like to chew things. So there's that, and I function really, and I'm like a cardio person. I like to run. I like to lift heavy, but you would think that, especially with that type, that I would need a bunch of carbohydrates, and I don't. I don't need it, and it keeps me super even keel too in terms mentally.
What about Mateo? Was he on the same thing? Did you have him on the same thing, or did you switch it up for him? Oh, okay.
Low sugar, no package.
A lot of low sugar. I dropped the Coca-Cola, which was a big problem, and I still have issues with that in terms of always looking for a soft drink.
Yeah.
But I dropped it.
But you do the bubbly water.
I dropped it. I switched to bubbly water, which was good. And I also, because of the gout situation, I basically had to abandon all things meat and high uric acid.
So that's a lot of
long time. So I went from a 90% meat, 10% everything else to the reverse: 90% vegetable and carbohydrate,
vegetable,
and
fruit, 10% nuts,
10% meat. So it's like salmon, nuts, eggs all the time.
Oh yeah.
1 strip or 2 strips of bacon, tomatoes, bananas, coffee.
Papaya shakes.
Shakes. I was introducing kale into the diet and carrots and cauliflower.
I could have never brought over protein powder in Mateo's house. So he does shakes. He does all fruit shakes, but he doesn't put supplements in it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but that was a big deal for me to be 100% carnivore, to switch to go completely the other direction.
Yeah.
Now my diet's more 50-50, but it was really
handle it.
It was really 90-10 meat. And then whatever, and then switch to 90 vegetable, 10% meat, fish. And now it's more of a 50-50 diet. So.
And how's your gout now?
I haven't had an attack since June.
Oh, wow. That's a long time, man.
And I'm on no medication, and I haven't had a problem with whatever I've been eating or handling, and I'm very pleased about that.
Even over the holidays with all the traveling and,
in Argentina, which is a meat carnivore's paradise.
Yes.
and I tasted about 500 wines during that 10-day trip.
That's 50 a day.
That's how I work. No issues, none.
Awesome. That is so cool. That's good to hear.
I think it's important to highlight that, especially because of Mateo's relationship with food, I really didn't want to impose a lot of what the fitness industry says that we need.
Yeah.
And I think that we, as a culture, as a fitness culture, and again, like what works for you works for you. Like, don't get me wrong, like a Quest bar and a microwave is totally dope. Like, I love that. But, I tend, especially with Mateo, I didn't even put any of that in his vocabulary because he just wouldn't resonate with it.
Yeah, I mean, being a chef, it's like, what is this? Like, it's coming in a package. Like, I could go cut up one pig and show you what tastes better than this, right? So that's...
Because he has the best cuts of meat in the world,
I know. I saw on the episode, I'm like, this is making me so hungry. So next time I'm out there, I'm gonna take you up on this, Mateo. The next time I'm out there, I'm gonna let you take me on a 10,000 calorie 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. rendezvous. You can come too.
That would be so dope.
Oh my God,
it would be
so much fun.
You should do tours, the 4 p.m. to 4 a.m., 10,000 calorie rendezvous with Mateo.
Let me give you a secret. All you have to do is have cocktails because they are loaded in calories.
Loaded in calories.
And they taste great.
It's about standing up and making sure you can walk out of the bar.
And then, we did that one.
That is so funny.
Your satiety waves get completely messed up. Anyway,
Okay, so, man, you guys are so awesome. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. What I want to do now is go through a really quick lightning round, because this is the fun part of the show. And then afterwards, I'm going to have you guys, make sure and give everybody where they can find you and stuff like that. But the lightning round is kind of fun, lighthearted. I mean, just have a good time. You guys are the perfect personalities for this, so I'm not worried at all about this part. But I think it's going to be hilarious and fun if you guys are okay with it.
All right, cool, yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask a question, and it'll be for both of you, and I'll kind of say who goes first and things like that. Okay. First question. Mack.
Yeah.
What was your most embarrassing moment during the 8 months of filming?
Like on camera?
On camera or off camera?
Do I get to include my diary cam?
Yes.
Producers weren't sure if I was trying hard enough. So I started throwing up on camera and pooping on camera.
Well,
I have to talk to Beatrice about where this footage is, because that should be in the bloopers. I feel super bad for the
editors. Sorry.
Wow.
They were like, I don't think you're trying hard enough. So,
I cannot top that.
I was like, okay.
Okay, well, I know you can't top that, but what was yours for you, Mateo? What was yours?
Just being a cripple in bed and crying like a baby. Okay. Because I had the worst gout attack of my life, and I was just like, oh, woe is me, and I couldn't, just feeling like completely helpless. It was really embarrassing to let myself get to that state. Was an embarrassment to me, an embarrassment for myself, and I caught it on camera, so that was good.
Yeah. So back to you, Mateo. Then what was the funniest thing that happened then during your 8 months of filming, on or off camera?
The funniest thing that happened. Trying to make sure that I was wearing clothing during my diary cam. I like to walk around sort of half-cocked, so I think Michelle one day was like, I think I caught something I wasn't supposed to catch. I was like, don't submit that. That's what we do. Press erase.
That's between us, okay?
Yeah, no, I figured that. But I don't know if that's the funniest moment, but Michelle was catching it, thought it was funny.
That's funny. Mack?
During my weight gain, this is a secret. I can't get fired, I guess. So during my weight gain, I was so miserable. We did an interview with my best friend, Samantha. Mm-hmm. She brought us a cup of coffee that was filled with wine because she was trying to. So the whole episode or the whole interview, we're giggling because we think it's really funny because we're children. And we're drinking wine instead of interview.
But it's a coffee cup. It's not coffee. But it's not mixed.
Nobody else knew except for us. So. And again, because it's our little secret and we're children, and I've been so miserable, and I'm like crying because I've been crying for literally my whole weekend. I just cried the whole time. We decided she brought me wine in the coffee mug.
Okay, what was the most?
I'm so mad I didn't think of that.
I know, right?
Okay, Mack, for you, what was the most disgusting thing you had to eat on your weight gain journey that you will never eat again? That you're just like so turned off by now?
Okay, not my idea. Can I just say this?
Okay.
The first thing was my first indulgence With the food trucks. And not food trucks, the worst food trucks in New York City. They took me to the worst food trucks. I just gotta say that.
They took it to the food trucks that they reserve for the tourists.
Not right. It was bad.
It's not right.
It wasn't correct. Like the business people food trucks. It was like
it's not civilized.
Foreign food trucks.
It's not civilized.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like those pretzels were nasty. Okay.
Oh, that is so funny. People are gonna love this because they like during it, it looks enjoyable. You know, it looks like okay, but I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Mateo, for you, what was the most disgusting thing you had to eat on your journey back to fit that you're like, what is this? Like, why would I ever eat this? Like a health food, for example.
Most disgusting thing I would say was literally I made an experiment one day trying to drink my coffee without sugar.
Oh yeah.
Without sugar.
8 teaspoons of sugar in his coffee.
I would ration my coffee. It was like, do you want some coffee with that sugar? But now and then one day I said, I'm gonna have none of it and see what happens. And I spit that right out. It was just not good.
I love it.
That is so funny, but that's how I drink my coffee. But I think it just takes a while to get used to. How do you drink your coffee now? With 8 tablespoons of sugar?
No, now I drew 1.5.
1.5. Okay, gotcha. But you won't ever go black. Like you won't ever drink black coffee.
I know. I won't say never. I may get to that point, but right now 1.5 works for me.
Okay. Interesting. That's funny.
I love it. I think that's good.
Okay, Mac, for you, have you eaten at Mateo's restaurant?
Yes.
What was the food that you enjoyed? What's your favorite food there at his restaurant?
I have to say my favorite thing is, so his restaurant's name is Pata Negra, and my favorite thing was trying the slices of pig.
Yeah.
And the way that it's because the way that Mateo talks about the history of the food and the way that he cuts it and the presentation, I swear to you, I've never tasted anything so delicious in my life. It was truly incredible.
Yeah, there's story and there's history behind it, right?
Yeah, and I've never been presented food that way. I mean, I literally eat my food while I'm walking between appointments. Yeah. I almost never sit down. I don't have a kitchen table because there's no point. And that was it's to this day one of my favorite memories of eating. I mean,
that is. But that's you don't get the same thing with like boxed macaroni and cheese, Kraft macaroni and cheese. Like it's like, hey, here, this was made in a factory. Here's the story of it.
Yeah,
isn't it amazing? It's not the same thing. Like there's so much more emotional connection to food that people have. There's this world that exists out there. So that is perfect. Okay, what's one thing that you've had either at his restaurant or something that Mateo told you like, oh, this is so good, you're gonna love this, that you're like, oh, okay, and you tried it and you're like, okay, this is not very good. Have you had that experience?
Yeah, soda is disgusting. It's the most thing I've ever put in my mouth. It's sweet. Every time I drink it, I make this face almost like I have a seizure. I don't understand how y'all drink that. It's terrible. Put that shit down. Put the soda down. It's disgusting.
Put the soda down.
You think it's good? It's not good. I don't care what anybody says.
Here's the thing. For me, I didn't like it either in the beginning, but I forced myself to drink it every day. Because my clients told me that was the hardest thing to give up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see.
Hear that. And you had shared that, and I thought that was like super impressive, and I tried that. No, I just went straight to booze. I just boozed there.
Yeah, you get a better buzz out of that versus
right? I was like,
soda.
if I have to suffer through this, I might as well be drunk.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
It's disgusting.
Would you ever do it again, Mac? I just had to get your reaction.
Drew, I can say with pretty much certainty, 100%, 1,000 certainty, the answer is absolutely not.
What? How much would it cost? No money amount. $5 million, $10 million.
But he wants to pay me to gain 50 pounds, please. I'll give you my account number right now. That's a piece of cake. I do it on my sleep.
No amount of money would ever make me do this again.
I am a professional.
Should anybody do this? No. I mean, I can't say it. But can I share? I mean, JJ. I got to meet JJ and Ray and a doctor. I've met a bunch of people. My little family. I love my family. Yes. JJ asked me, and I had been asked the same question at my final interview. They said, "Do you regret this?" And I said, "Yes." And then JJ asked me 3 months later, and I said, "No, I don't regret it. I don't regret it."
You changed your mind.
I changed my mind, and I can say I do not regret doing this.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, honestly, Mack, because you had me up at night. Like, I was like, man, I feel so bad for her. This isn't the way it was supposed to be. Like, this was supposed to be a good experience. Like, come out of this a better person. And I honestly felt so guilty. I'm like, this isn't what was supposed to happen. I mean, why isn't this working for her? So that means a lot to me. Thank you very much. And I'm sure, for those that are watching, I mean, it really, that makes me grateful. Like, I'm glad that there's a happy ending to the story, because I'm like, man, she's going to hate me for the rest of her life. Like, she was so miserable. She's like, I don't even know, like, this is stupid. Like, I'm like, this is not what I wanted for her. So thank you.
No, I mean, I couldn't, you couldn't have told me otherwise. I was really stubborn. And I just have never felt that awful in my life for such, a long period of time. But, even now, I mean, I do have more perspective and I have more balance in my life because of this. And, for me, there was a little bit of can I do the hardest thing I've ever done? And I did it, kind of.
Did it.
And I did it. And then also the thing that was super, to continue to say the reason why I'm grateful that I did it is because the whole process was so lonely. And to meet the other trainers and to hear their experiences and to see them and hear their testimonials, I can't explain to you the amount of catharsis I personally have watching them do that. And if any one of them asked me to do anything for them, and I've only met a few of them, I would drop anything. I mean, these people went through hell and back. I mean, in different versions of it, gave themselves an opportunity, put themselves through something that most people will never do. And so, that's finding this community for me has paid off.
Gotcha. That is so cool. And I'm going to be calling you up on season 2 if there's a trainer that's struggling like you were. I'm like, okay, you got to talk to Mack, because she'll talk you through it.
Send them my way. I will give them truth and love.
Yeah. Last question, Mateo. What's the one exercise that Mack made you do that you hate the worst now? That you just loathe doing?
That's a good question.
I still don't like planking. So.
What? You don't just love getting down and doing 3 minutes of plank every day?
No, I don't understand it at all. It has no. It's like when you're in school and they teach you a bunch of trigonometry and stuff, and you say, "What does this have to do with real life?"
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking when I'm doing a plank. It's like, why would I be in a position that I'm just not letting all my weight fall down on the floor or whoever I'm on top of? And why would I keep myself up off the ground all this time? It makes no sense to me. What is there a bed of spikes that I'm going to fall into? There's no practical application to this. So, planking.
That is great. I love your answer to that. Thank you guys so much. Really quick, you guys, before we wrap up, Mack, where can people find you on social media? I know that you just recently joined social media. Thank you for doing that. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I currently have a budding Facebook profile, and it's public to everyone. You can find me at Katie Mack on Facebook. Yes. You can find me on Instagram, Mackers NYC, Mackers NYC, and then there'll be a website very soon because I'm trying to be a human being that will be posted on my Instagram that you can check me out, yo.
Okay, sweet. And Mateo, your restaurant, all that, if you want people to get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can come down and see me at Pazza Negra. I'm at 12th Street between 1st and 2nd, www.pazzanegratapos.com. And if you want to follow me around, I'm at Chez, C-H-E-Z, at Chef Mateo. That's my Twitter handle. That's my Instagram handle. Oh, my Instagram handle is Mr. Fujisan 212. And that's because it's a little bit of a different handle, but that's okay. And then I'm on Facebook as well, so anybody can all hit me up on that as well. And
friend me. I love new friends.
Yeah, we like friends.
You guys will get a lot of friends. I'm pretty sure after your guys' episode, you'll get a lot of friends. So people will be listening to this episode because it's cool. Because like I said, 8 months of filming into a 45-minute episode, people don't really know a lot about you guys, and so this is a great way of doing the podcast to let people know more about you, more of your emotions, what you thought of the experience, and I think it's going to be great for people to connect with you guys. So thank you guys so much for coming on the Fit to Fat Fit Experience podcast. You guys are awesome, and definitely stay in touch, and we definitely want to hear back from you guys. So
yeah, Drew, we love you. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Peace out.
Thank you guys. Love you too. Thank you guys so much for listening to another great episode of the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. If you like today's episode, please go leave us a review on iTunes. We really appreciate hearing from you guys and hearing what you guys have to say about the podcast and listening to your ideas about future guests and future topics you want to hear us talk about. Please subscribe to us on iTunes as well so that you don't miss any episodes, you guys. And feel free to reach out to us on social media. My social media handle is at Fit to Fat to Fit with a number 2. On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of it is at Fit to Fat to Fit. I'm even on Snapchat. On my website, fittofattofit.com. You can sign up for the newsletter there. You can also check out my 6 months of meal plans and workouts that I used on my journey from fat to fit during my Fit to Fat to Fit journey. All that is accessible there. And my book, which is on Amazon or iTunes. You can find it anywhere. It's called Fit to Fat to Fit: The Unexpected Lessons of Gaining and Losing 75 Pounds on Purpose. Check that book out. It's a New York Times bestseller, so I think it's pretty good. Lynn's website is 2FitAtHome, the number 2, FITATHOME.com. You can sign up for her newsletter there. It's focused mostly on women. So all you moms out there, for example, would love her content, love her programs. She's on all social media at 2FitAtHome as well. And we love to hear from you guys. We answer everybody's emails. We respond to everybody's tweets and messages on Instagram, and we love and appreciate you guys and all the support you've shown us. So we hope to have you guys back on sorry, let me say it again. We hope that you guys will tune in next week for another great episode of the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience. We hope you guys will tune in next week to another great episode of the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast as we try and deliver you guys great content each week. We'll see you guys back here next week.